Hello there, welcome back to another Toku Rambling. Potentially shorter one today. There's no intro for this because it's a singular movie rather than a group of movies. We'll be talking about actually our first piece of Ultraman material on this channel. The 2004 Ultraman the Next, a film that was part of an initial initiative to more or less revitalize the franchise, which was this, and a show called Ultraman Nexus. Both of these did not more or less pan out well, and less the darker, more serious take on the franchise was moved back to more of the standard stuff. So, this movie is actually decently fine. It's a rather standard origin story that sees our main character, Shuichi Maki, living out his childhood dream of more or less being a pilot in the self-defense force, but unfortunately, that dream has distanced him from his wife and child, and it just so happens that the child has standard extremely serious disease and thus puts his life in serious risk. So he's decided to retire from the force to spend all that time with his family. But of course, as we all know, retirement is whenever you say you're going to retire, it's not that simple, and less sense coming into contact with a mysterious this guy one night and somehow surviving without any major injuries whatsoever and retiring. Unfortunately for him, said light has turned him into a giant, enormous giant who now has to fight off an evil space monster who also more or less fought said giant. So this film starts off kind of honestly terrifying. Like the opening bits are kind of chilling and tense in a way you wouldn't expect out of this. It's almost close to like a movie like Aliens and how it's done before it goes to like the standard stuff. And like the one thing I was concerned with the whole family dynamic was like the kid was going to be just, a plot. His disease was more or less there to more or less show up fake drama. But I surprisingly liked a lot of the family dynamic that goes on with them. The time they spend it at a amusement park felt like a family enjoying themselves, and it works because it more lets us up after all of that heavy stuff. That opening scene of the slaughtering of numerous people, and more or less potential that more or less Shuichi dies, and like it serves as good brevity before we get into the main action stuff, where he's basically kidnapped by the government for reasons about more or less you survived a crash you shouldn't have survived. Then that helps when he's instantly likable. Well, throughout the entirety of the film, and never comes off as a jerk or more less whiny about his situation. And when it gets to that point of battle, he deliberately takes time out of more or less going. You face him to go check on his son, who he believes will die. No, because this may be the last time he sees him. Spoiler, he doesn't need to survive the film, all things considered. But it still more or less speaks that he is a person and not just your standard stock hero. I also like how it was really setting up like the wife was going to get jealous and stuff about the new girl that more or less comes in, but it surprisingly kept to a minimum, and she completely trusts him, which is nice when you're so used to like, my husband's hanging out with some girl, he's cheating on me, isn't he? Like, this film I feel like does the origin stuff fairly well, and I think that's also sort of its big issue here. It's an origin story in hopes that more or less it gets off the ground to do more film and explore more things. But again, the whole initiative didn't take off, so we just have this singular movie. And I do think it does a lot right. Like, the one is a pretty terrifying villain, this kind of sociopath, and how it interacts with the other main girl, she more or less sees the one as her issues and more or less needs to deal with her, and more or less how her story with him ends in how the one takes on the appearance of her fiance and uses it to trick her, shows another side of her. But really, Shuichi, Sarah are like the only ones who get any kind of legitimate sort of characterization. Like, the wife, again, more or less doesn't get much, but I'm thankful that more there's the jealousy stuff. Shuichi's former partner is around for a bit, but I couldn't really remember much. And some of the military members are fairly standard, doing their job as they are told. They're more or less being a little too overseer. Yes, I do like designs that are going on here. Going from the main Ultra suit is going for a more realistic and kind of organic approach, with like the red seeming like it's blood of some kind running from his body. It's very much a, hey, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And like the one's initial designs are fairly solid too, and it's kind of under reptilian monstrosity before it kind of goes into CG. Like, the big thing I can knock about this film is it's early 2000s Toku CG. It's not the greatest in my opinion. It sometimes looks really terrible. Especially at the end when it becomes a giant CG. When the one becomes this giant CGI monstrosity. It just doesn't look that real, honestly. It looks pretty terrible. But overall, I do think this was a good origin film, all things considered. I kind of wish this did spin off into more films instead of just a singular one. So, yeah, shorter video, but I'm planning out other things. So, yeah. Like, subscribe, comment, all those things that more or less that you do to keep me in the YouTube algorithm, and see you around.